Hello and welcome back to the Luton Town Tactical View Only Career Mode. Really should have thought about how many words are in that title. It is a mouthful, isn't it? But we get there. Today we tackle through March, and first and foremost, just want to say, remember how I said I was going to get a bank of episodes recorded just so interruptions wouldn't get in the way? Yeah, apparently I'm not even afforded the time or energy to do that, so apologies, no video Monday as it was, which might mean the F1 video gets pushed to the Friday that follows it. Ironically, the fact I'm exhausted all of the time that I actually do have available to me does allow me to actually play the F1 stuff in the background, so it shouldn't be too much of a delay on that one, but I'm going to stop making promises because God knows what's happening at any given point right now. The one thing I do know is this is being recorded, this will go up on Friday. At some point, I'll get my sanity back, what there was left of it. With 4 games today, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Manchester City away in the FA Cup. We'll give it the full match treatment, and then Spurs. Also away. 3 away games today, which worries me. And the home game isn't particularly easy either. But just a reminder, it'll be 5 games in the next episode, including Manchester City away again, and then 4 to finish things off, starting with the Wolves away game that technically ends April. Aston Villa not at their fittest, which is interesting. I suppose they do have European football, which might account for that. Also disrespecting us by rotating their goalkeeper for no apparent reason. So for the only home fixture, annoyingly, by the way, EAFC have only just added the actual Kenilworth Road to the game, so we can't actually benefit from that. I know in Creator Club it allows you to change the stadium in between seasons, so I don't know if it would allow us to inherit the actual Kenilworth Road in between seasons, but it is Aston Villa with the early possession here, though. I doubt we'll be able to get the actual Kenilworth Road in now it's actually been added to the game. I do wonder, though, if, as Watkins goes close, I do wonder if I might be able to edit it in as our home stadium. I wonder if that's possible. Well, that would require finding the ID and what have you and all that jazz. I'll look into it, but don't hold out too much hope. Chavez, Watkins having a campaign to remember as well, as he is in real life, of course. I imagine he'll be second, I assume, on Gareth Southgate's team sheet for strikers, behind Harry Kane, and rightly so. It's kind of weird, though, when you think about it, because Watkins obviously having a fantastic season, but you still wouldn't necessarily consider him probably anywhere near kind of the same class as Harry Kane. And it's kind of a lot like that for a lot of the team for England. Everyone keeps saying what's stopping this team from winning the Euros, and realistically, apart from a few players, it's not a world-class team on paper. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent that can certainly improve over time, but a lot of it is young talent. And defensively, I don't know what we're doing as England. That ball has been put through. Ogbini forces a good save out of Olsen. But realistically, centre-backs, you've got John Stones, who isn't always fit and available. Harry Maguire's always been solid for England, but it's Harry Maguire. Right back, Ben White won't play for whatever reason. Kyle Walker's still, functional despite getting on in years. He's still a very good player. Trent, injury problems this year, probably will be fine for Euros. Trippier, same situation. So right back, we're kind of okay, even if it's a baffling array of players and situations, who is and who isn't available. Left back, no idea. I mean, it will be Chilwell, but it shouldn't be Chilwell. But yeah, you've got the world-class Kane and Bellingham, and then... But in this game, which has very little really to go for it so far, Olsen saves that corner. Okay, I mean, obviously Watkins had a very good season. Gordon's had a very good season. I forget who the other winger option is that's had a very good season that was in the picture as well for being called up. Obviously Maino as well. Like, players like that, they've all had very good seasons. They're all kind of young talents who can get better. I mean, actually, Watkins isn't that young anymore, but they're all very good players. You strip England of those absolute key players, the Bellinghams and the Kanes, and it's not an amazing team. And I don't know why everyone's raving about our chances, quite frankly. I don't want to be cynical, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be disappointed this summer. As we kick off the second half, I have just remembered Phil Foden. So yeah, apologies for kind of ignoring Phil Foden. I probably will put him in the same class as Kane and Bellingham in terms of the England squad as essential. I mean, even goalkeepers are insanity for England because it is Pickford. It shouldn't be Pickford, but it is Pickford. Loyalty goes for so far. Chavez, Olsen, good save. Wasn't Olsen back up to Pickford at Everton at one point? To be fair, a point here with Aston Villa is actually a good result for Luton. Aston Villa's 7th in the game, so reasonably accurate in terms of their performance levels over the course of the season so far. Obviously, in real life, they're doing well, but that's more, frankly, because of the disappointment of teams like Manchester United, Chelsea, although Chelsea doing terrible in this as well. They're having a very good season of their own regard, and they deserve to be up there, much in the same way Newcastle did last year, benefiting from teams that aren't performing as well, but obviously doing their bit to get where they are anyway. But realistically, with a firing top 6, they would probably be 6th or 7th. There's always one that doesn't have a good season. But in this case, there's kind of two and a half now with Spurs dropping off. But realistic as well. Spurs are doing the same situation, capitalising on other Big Sixes not performing as well. Realistically, saying Big Six as well is, I don't know, maybe outdated. Tecatito's gone through here, though. We'll focus on this. I mean, that's sensational. Martial with his first Luton goal. Incredibly unselfish from Tecatito as well. The man named Jesus, or Jesus, incredibly unselfish. Sounds about right. Could have really continued with his trickery there and maybe popped in a chance of his own, but saw Martial open and he buries it past Robin Olsen. Maybe their decision not to go for Martinez in goal hasn't paid off, but at the same time, how savable was that? Yeah, I just thought I'd allow that announcement to play out in game, because having the stadium announcer shout a goal for Luton Town, Anthony Martial, is weird, as Daniel has scored for, I genuinely don't know which team. I did also realise I talked about kind of score lines last time round, and it is behind my camera. It's Newcastle Wolves. I think it's Pereira's first name is Daniel, isn't it? So I think that's Pereira who scored for Newcastle. They've just got 2-1 up against Wolves. I don't think Wolves are in the relegation picture in this, so Everton are in the relegation picture, and they've just gone 3-1 up, or conceded to make it 3-1. I think that might be Pablo Fornals getting one back for West Ham. Tecatito has put Ogbini in. I was about to say, not to be outdone, I'll take this opportunity to make all 5 substitutions. Martial will come off. He is one of the most tired. Give him a round of applause. He scored a goal. But Lokonga will stand over this. It will fire all the way to Pau Torres. Barkley. I'll continue the Big Six talk was with this chances inevitably being squandered probably. Back to the Cabore, who has found a teammate for the first time in his career. Chavez fires over. But is the concept of a Big Six now well and truly over? The way this season's panned out, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City. Is it a Big Three? Because Spurs have got to rebuild post-Kane. Manchester United have been rebuilding for 10 years and will continue to do so. And Chelsea, similarly now, kind of looking like they might be in that boat. Are the other 3 members of that former Big Six part of it? Because you've got to say, teams like Aston Villa, teams like Newcastle, like even with Newcastle seasons the way it is, Watkins nearly equalises. Even the way the Newcastle season's panned out with injury after injury after injury, and obviously Champions League fixtures as well to add to the playing time of the players. Admittedly, only 6 of them, but you know, Manchester United had exactly the same amount of Champions League games as Newcastle did, and have had their own defensive injury lists. But yeah, even with the constant injuries that Newcastle have had, they are still 6th as of recording, which, frankly, if Newcastle stays 6th by the end of the year, I think every Newcastle fan will 100% take that. Adebayo's in. And scored somehow. I generally don't know how that evaded the defender that was directly in front of him, but I'm not going to complain. 2 goals from strikers today, neither of which have been from Ogbini. Is the tide turning in that particular momentum? It's nice to see the other strikers getting on the score sheet. It's just incredible timing from Adebayo, it has to be said. Pulls the trigger just as the defender overcooks their attempted block. And with that being an injury time, that's probably enough. Meanwhile, at some point, Aston Villa brought Dendoncker on. Is that one of the weirdest kind of under-the-radar traitor moves you've seen, transfer-wise? It was either last season or the season before he went from Wolves to Aston Villa. Nobody really made a fuss of it at the time. As rival moves go, it kind of just happened and nobody said anything about it. Probably, maybe the fans did at the time, but it didn't really make the wider news. That's a vital 3 points, because Everton won and Burnley won. Interview there just said we did the double on Aston Villa, which obviously isn't always necessarily accurate, because it constantly thinks we lost the first game to everyone. When did we play Aston Villa the first time round? Oh, did we? We did beat them 3-1 away from home. I knew this was notable. Sanchez is kicking off because he's not getting the start in time. He signed on crucial, which was never going to be the case, but it was necessary to get him in the door in the first place. Yeah, you can see why that was important. Everton and Burnley both winning, taking themselves to 25 points. Brighton still in that relegation zone. Chelsea still out of it. Goal difference is what's keeping them and Everton safe for now. Our goal difference is what's keeping us behind Bournemouth. But with each game that passes with 6 points gap, yeah, we got to take it. So the first of 3 away fixtures in a row for Luton Town now as we go to Selhurst Park. The bigger hitters of Crystal Palace are awaiting, along with Roy, of course, who does start the season at Crystal Palace and therefore is still the manager in game and will be forever. As I said in the reverse fixture, I do hope he's doing well. Still feel like I haven't heard anything on that front, which is probably the right thing, given the space. Selhurst Park's had better days by the looks of things, but nonetheless, this pitch has seen definitely a season's worth of football. I know all these like visual touches tend to get a little bit derided whenever EA kind of champion them as kind of huge features, but the little details and realism do kind of add. In situations like this, sorry, they signed Lazari. I genuinely forgot about that. They're still playing Jeffrey Schlupp, but no disrespect to Jeffrey Schlupp, but the fact they've got Lazari at the same time, there's a bit of a disconnect in my brain that is struggling to function right now. Anderson, the saviour of Blackburn, FM-wise. If you've not watched that, then I might do a part 2 to that soon. Newcastle have taken over second in the Premier League. Beating there was massive. Lerma, Ibioway. I'll be honest, not familiar with their work. It is their surname, judging by the name tag in the corner. I don't know if that's just someone who goes by a more common name, or if that is a new signing or a youngster or something that I'm just unfamiliar with. Henderson. Oh, speaking of the goalkeeper position, I think I mentioned it before. How is James Trafford in the England picture over goalkeepers like Henderson? Maybe they're just bought him for the friendlies just because, you know, it's a friendly and it doesn't really matter all that much who the third goalkeeper is in that team sheet. But if anyone's getting third goalkeepers, or even second goalkeeper, frankly, it should be Dean Henderson. Pope, if he's fit, is obviously Pope if he's fit should be first, frankly, but it will be Pickford. Rafa Mir is at Crystal Palace. All right, Doherty, Ryan Chavez. I mean, don't get me wrong, the goalkeepers that go to the Euros should be Pickford, Pope and Ramsdale, again, as it was for the World Cup. Last time out as Ogbini fires it past the number 4 England goalkeeper, Dean Henderson, maybe even number 5, depending on how Sam Johnson is regarded. But Ogbini, unhappy that he didn't score last time out, decides, enough's enough, I'm getting back on the score sheets. Nothing Dean Henderson could have done by that. Slammed near side and high as my face decides to melt its way through my coat in that animation. Talking about visual touches. Not perfect still. Not perfect. Chidozie Beanie. Welcome back, sir. Welcome back. Nazari finds Lerma. Ebiowe. I might have to look into this Ebiowe afterwards. Mostly because I don't know how to pronounce his name, but also because genuinely don't know who he is. Schlupp. He's wearing the number 23, so it does make me think he's obviously a first-team player, usually. Ginetti. Incredible ball to Ogbini from Ginetti there. That was like a 40-yard pass that went straight through. Giles does have assistance here. Unfortunately, I think Ogbini went offside. As Roy Hodgson gets advice from Will Hughes, it seems like. I don't know why, but seeing Tom Cleverley take over at Watford, Will Hughes has that same vibe of a young player manager when he eventually retires. Or gets close to retirement anyway. Martial. Sambi Lokonga. I don't know if it's just because Will Hughes might have done that in FM at some point. I view him that way. I know Callum Chambers did. That's still one of the craziest successful managers in future FM seasons that's ever happened to me. Callum Chambers. World-class manager. Schlupp. Giles. Oof. Great challenge there. Unnecessary, really, considering the time. Just mentioning Callum Chambers, I'm trying to think if he actually ever had a spell at Crystal Palace. I think Rob Holdings worked his way there now. Either IRL or in-game. Has to be IRL, actually, thinking about it, because first transfer window was shut. But Crystal Palace just feels like one of those places that Callum Chambers just was for a season on loan, maybe. I know he did Southampton. I think he was from Southampton, actually, originally. But now at Aston Villa, I believe. Genuinely no idea where he is, actually. I know he went to Aston Villa. I mean, this attack's taking forever, and I don't know what Tecatito did at the end. But he has drawn a throw-in, weirdly. He kind of was going into nowhere. So getting a throw-in out of that is actually helpful. Edouard comes on for Ayew, which I think is actually technically a bettering of their team, frankly, at this point in time. But Ogbini, Giles, kicks it at the defender, gets the ball back again, and is shoved off the ball. Honestly, EAFC's consistency on what is and isn't a foul is insane that I've given up trying to work out. Yeah, the number 34 there was convinced that they should track, I think that's Eze, the number 10, and then decided against it inevitably. Oh dear, that's not great. Outside of the book, I mean, that kind of shot in Rivals the Champions would have probably got in. It is a bizarrely overpowered staple of online play. The outside the boot, edge of the box shot, but Martial's in here, well into the box, forces a save from Henderson. Henderson at Palace is permanent, isn't it? That's Will Hughes on for the mysterious Ebiowe. But yeah, Henderson to Palace is a permanent situation, isn't it? I was about to say 2 low knees face off against each other there, Martial and Henderson. But it's 1 low knee versus 1 permanent, ex-Man United. I have to say, for a team with such strong colours, kit-wise, Crystal Palace do often end up with banger kits, do they not? Like, you'd think the bright red and the blue would create such clashing kind of kits, and, you know, occasionally they're not always perfect or fantastic, but more often than not, they pull it out of the bag. This year's is another great one, in my opinion. Wagner slides it through to Barkley, who is well tackled by Mark Weahy. Speaking of England, probably ought to be on the fringes of consideration for centre-back, depending on who's fit and available. Arsenal 4-1 Brentford in the background, where Gabriel has scored, but that could genuinely be one of 3 players. That could genuinely be defender Gabriel, or Gabriel. It could be Martinelli, or it could be Jesus. I'm trying to think, do they have a 4th one? Or is it just 3 Gabriels? Palace just working this sensibly. Rafa Mir had a bit of space just to drive into. Chavez fighting off with Will Hughes there. Sanchez on as a substitute. We'll give it to Kabore, who actually expertly avoids Will Hughes. Barkley just taking his time sensibly. Sanchez, Barkley. 3 minutes out of the clock, 91 played. If we can kind of work our way to a chance in the 92nd minute or 93rd minute, this should see out the game, frankly. Okay, we've not scored, but that has been cleared. And full time has been called. Another vital 3 points away from home this time. Crystal Palace, tricky opponent. Not too many more points than those. 36 points they had. We will now go to 34 off the back of this victory. Ogbini had 4 shots today. Not the best conversion rates by EAFC standards, but you're not going to complain when the one goal makes all the difference. And crucially, that's back-to-back clean sheets for Luton Town, which I think I have overheard commentators say at the weekend, they have 2 clean sheets in real life. We've just done that in this episode. Bournemouth get a point. We're ahead of Bournemouth because Bournemouth draw with Sheffield United. I have to say, not the most thrilling of matches, but we'll take 3 points nonetheless. I'm devastated, boss. All I wanted to do was get things out in the open. I just want to help the team and help you. And you react to that by taking the armband off me and making Lockyer captain in... Lockyer was already captain, Lautaro. You know what it is? I think that's genuinely just the game assigning Giannetti the captain's armband when Lockyer didn't play a game. Once Giannetti and Vitic came in, I was playing Nakamba with those two. So I think it took the armband off Lockyer and gave it to Giannetti, but now I've reinstated Lockyer over Nakamba. It's given the armband back to Lockyer. Stockport versus Leyton Orient is an FA Cup quarter-final. Somebody is getting Stockport or Leyton Orient in the semi-final. Meanwhile, we drew Manchester City. Because of course we did. Of course we did. And I did just see there on through the manager objectives, we are no longer visible in the bottom 8. Because with 28 games played, Everton and Burnley played 27. But everyone else has 28. We now have 34 points and are 12th. But there's a 9-point gap, whichever way you look at it, on the relegation places, because if Everton and Burnley get a point, then Chelsea end up 18th on 25. There's a 9-point gap with 8 games left to play. That victory at Crystal Palace might actually make all the difference. That might be the deciding one, because I don't know how many points we're going to get for the rest of the season now. Spurs away. Probably not going to get anything there. Arsenal away, probably not going to get anything there. Man City away, not going to get anything there. Realistically, the points come from Bournemouth, Brentford, Wolves away, Forest at home. West Ham just smashed us, so I think that's not going to be anything there. Everton at home is probably another crucial one away. Of course, Fulham at home. To be fair, the home games, quite kind. The away games, international break between the 19th and the 25th. Brian Giles is in the England picture. Actually, we were talking about the left-back situation for England. 78 rated, behind Ben Chilwell and Luke Shaw. I would assume ahead of him in the pecking order usually. Ollie's obviously with Qatar. He's one of their best players in general. Corona and Sanchez for Mexico. Weirdly no Chavez, though, who is better than Sanchez. Vitic for Czech Republic and Samuel Lukonga for Belgium. And it appears Manchester City have had a game very shortly before this because the players that are playing, first team-wise, knackered already. I'll happily take every opportunity to G up the squad before this game. Why has the team been struggling? We've just won back-to-back games. Game? Are you drunk? Quarter-final of the FA Cup. Back-to-back victories. 12th in the league, with the objective being avoid relegation. And I've just been asked, this is not the kind of bad run we expect from Luton Town. The quarter-finals, it is an Etihad adventure. They are running with Haaland, though. There may be rotation elsewhere. Haaland and Rodri. And Edison in goal still. There's a strong core line involved today. Kanji in defence too. But Gomez in, Sarmiento in. I think it was Lewis in. O'Reilly again, for good measure, whoever that may be. Grealish too starting. But no De Bruyne, no Bernardo Silva, no Foden, no John Stones, no Carl Walker, of course. Phillips cussed that one out. Phillips, of course, still at Man City in this universe. Is Sarmiento at Man City in real life? Because I know he's always a young talent with a bit of potential in FM. But I think, swear to God, he's at somewhere like Bournemouth or a championship team, usually, to start with. I might be getting him mixed up with someone. I think Bristol City have a Sarmiento or someone like Sarmiento. Maybe he was just loaned there. I don't know. Doherty gets to charge, and we have thwarted Manchester City for now as we are closed off, and yep, that was terrible. O'Reilly. It was the youngsters that scored against us in the League Cup. Are we about to have another situation like that? Giannetti puts his foot in against O'Reilly and does get away with it. Martial can release Ogbini if he just sees the run. He has not seen the run. Never mind. He plays that stupidly backwards and, yeah, never mind. Now Haaland's in. No, he isn't. Vitic, no nonsense it. Needed in that moment, frankly. Takatito plays it away from O'Reilly. It's a good ball to Martial if he can just do the pass first time. Takatito saves Martial's blushes. I don't know why Martial's taken a Harry Kane role today. He's constantly been in midfield for some reason. That's a great ball through. Ogbini does get it ahead of Ake. Taking it far too wide to be of any use, though. It is Jesus Corona from the right-hand side. Ogbini under it. It was how Ogbini first got my attention, was scoring basically from every corner that he got his head to. Not really seen that since, weirdly, ever since he's been instated as a first team member. Martial's hounding Sergio Gomez, but in no way that made any impact whatsoever. But the team that Man City have put out, and the way that we played the last couple of games, never mind. Oh, that was miles wide from Haaland. But yeah, as I was saying, with the team that they put out today, we are away from home, admittedly, but the performance we had in the last couple of games, I'm quietly not ruling anything out here. When I saw we'd been drawn Manchester City, I thought, oh, well, that's it for the FA Cup. But the circumstances, the players they brought in are probably comparable to ours, even as youngsters. And the players that are world class are tired to start with and might need replacing at some point. Like players like Rodri and Haaland are a good solid 20% less fit than anyone else on this field. But we are giving Calvin Phillips like all the time in the world to lay this off to whoever they want. That's Haaland in. Thought he might have been offside there actually momentarily, but we're seeing the celebrations. I'll be honest, they haven't coded the fans correctly there, have they? That's far too much exuberance. That is a hammer blow. Yeah, that crowd's far too loud. EA, patch that out, will you? Ogbini. Oh, sneaks his way through to Martial. I mean, Manchester United player. Martial's not exactly ever been accused of being motivated at any given point in time, but I'd like to think his stay at Man United for as long as he has actually been there would certainly at least ingrained a certain amount of rivalry with Manchester City. As Manchester City kick off the second half a goal to the good, my worry is which way the Manchester City substitutions will go. Are they going to take off the tired world-class players and therefore technically weaken the team, or are they going to take off the youngsters and improve the team? Because if it's the former, I can feel like we might be able to get back into it a little bit more. But not if we concede a second. We get that one clear for now. Ogbini heads it down to nobody. Yeah. Albini 72 rated. Occasionally that does show through with his choice of pass really more than anything. But getting in front of the goal then, sure. But I don't think he's ever headed the ball to anyone sensible. He's going to get the ball now, and he's going to power into the box. He does have options in there. Never mind, doesn't need them. That's 1-1. May not know where to head the ball, but certainly knows where to hit the ball. On his left, which I don't think is his best foot, but I think he does have a 5-star weak foot, if I'm not mistaken. That's why I put him on the left-hand side. And unbelievably, it is Manchester City 1, Luton Town 1. If I remember rightly, all the real Manchester City Luton Town fixtures haven't ended with particular amount of hope for Luton Town. Rodri from the edge of the box scared me for a moment. I know what he's capable of from there. Too many passes. I don't like this. It is building. Eventually, someone's just going to run into a good position and slam it. Although Giannetti stopped that one. If we could just not, wait 3 days to take the pass, Corona, that'd be great. Put your foot in, Giles. Good work, mate. And now we find out that is 86 off Bernardo Silva on. They are replacing the youngsters for the good players. I was really hoping the game would prioritise tiredness. What on earth is Lewis doing there? It took 3 days to take that throw in. Sarmiento is not being mustered off the ball by Lockyer, but he is being tackled by him eventually. Giannetti, sensible. Chavez, sensible again. Tecatito, sensible. Ogbini, Martial. Too much to do from there, I would have thought. Although, actually, weirdly has the play. Doherty runs into Rodri more than anything else. Sergio Gomez. Man City work it way out to Grealish, who frankly hasn't been involved all that much in this game so far. And still hasn't, because he smashed that against Doherty, who will now come off. And that is Phil Foden on for Dario Sarmiento. Yeah, they're just making this more dangerous for us, aren't they? Great, thank you for that. We replace tiring players. Martial for Adebayo. Lockyer for Nakamba in defence. Just so there's fresh legs there. Not that they do any good when they just run out of the box for no reason whatsoever. Kaminsky saves from Haaland. I'll be honest, the reaction to that save was a little overkill. It was from a tight angle. Giles takes it off Bernardo Silva and now can run because he's done Jack Grealish as well. Defensively, they just have Rico Lewis, I think that is. There is nobody else there. What has happened? That's sensational! The goal didn't need to be that spectacular. They could have played it safer across the ground, but no, he decided to cross it normally for some strange reason. Could have just drilled the pass across the box. There was nobody there. And nor did Ogbini really have to volley it in such a way. Where has that come from? Defensively, Man City went for it and were punished. And now they have to go for it. That is Alvarez on, I think, for Phillips. They brought on another striker, I'm pretty certain. Ogbini at the double. There's the confirmation. It took a while to come through. So they must have changed formation. Oh, Bernardo Silva's probably moved into midfield, hasn't he? That's probably what's happened there. I think he was playing more advanced before. Rico Lewis will find Foden, and this is now effectively a full-strength Manchester City team apart from Kevin De Bruyne and Kyle Walker. Haaland's in! That's side netting. And we're at 90 minutes of 93. We make the last two substitutions of our own. Kaminsky actually sensibly hoofs that for the first. That's the only time I'm happy with the hoofing, frankly. Because I do not want to build out from the back here, although they've got the ball back into a dangerous position before. Well, he's offside. And we can breathe easy because that will be that, I think. Miles off. Jack. Miles off. He's in another continent, let alone. I was about to say, he was in a dangerous position because they were attacking on the 93rd minute, which would have allowed them that attack, the way the game's coded. Ball's hoofed up. Again, that was a sensible thing to do. And unbelievably, Luton Town run out victors at the Etihad in the FA Cup. We got the first goal in the first half, but the second goal came after they brought on their best players. Is Ogbini once again the man taking the headlines? Yeah, he didn't like being not on the score sheet in that first game, did he? Spurs beat Sunderland. I know we're both Premier League teams, but that is a cup set. I mean, with the teams that remain, anything is possible. 400,000 for winning that fixture. I've paused it before we got well close to that because we have had basically the announcement. Our victory at Manchester City is rewarded by drawing Leyton Orient in the semi-final. Okay, that makes things awkward. I think we're going to have to do a 5th game in this episode because either way, there's 4 games now in May. We can make the next episode these 5 games up to Wolves. We'll now include the Arsenal game in this one, just to prevent a potential 6-game episode happening at any point. This is a game mode where the centre-back pairing for Spurs is current Bayern Munich man Eric Dier and former Bayern Munich man David Alaba. One of those players whose first name actually escapes me. Also, just as a side note, explain to me why my entire team, for the most part, is unhappy, including starting players like Doherty, Lokonga and Vitic, who is actually tired for some reason. I'm starting Wagner because he said he wanted to start and he's only 1 point worse off than Giles. There's Richarlison. 2 goals last game for him. The new Spurs stadium is literally just called the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, isn't it? Boringly. As fancy and nice as the stadium is, it is dull, name-wise. But there is Alaba. But, yeah, Alaba at Spurs just feels wrong. Spurs dispossessed, though, and we can move forward. We're in our, what is my favourite kit of the Luton kits. Richarlison. Plays in Kulusevski. It's too difficult at London away days. We probably don't even go back. I mean, Luton's not far, I suppose. It's not like Newcastle. But we are away at Spurs and then away at Arsenal. So, frankly, we don't need to move that far. If we can find a training camp within North London, in the vicinity, then I'll save for some petrol. Son? I don't think I saw Maddison on the team sheet. Son with a great shot there. Kaminsky with a good save. That was going in. That was dangerous. Also not playing a doggy at left back, but I don't think, obviously, his base statistics are that strong in the game. Doherty. That's Lockyer. Spun on somewhat. Forces a throw. Sammy Lokonga, obviously an Arsenal man. Another low knee. Ingrained with the need and desire to beat an opponent. Of course, we also have Kabori, who was on loan from Manchester City. Didn't stop him contributing, though, in the Manchester City game. Perisic is going to retire at the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if he does IRL, because I believe he's been shipped off to Croatia for the second half of this season, at least. Richarlison. Oof. Don't know what happened there. I think that's a corner. It was. We're going to play it short, which is always terrifying. I think I erroneously called a couple of goals last time second phase corners when they were just short corner manoeuvres. It's the same principle because great chance. Should have been a goal, frankly, that one. I was about to say Nakamba no nonsense is it, but certain amount of nonsense. Can I argue that's a second phase corner goal? Because that does come from Nakamba's ineptitude, and this is why he doesn't normally start a game. I don't know why he's so rubbish there. Just kicks it to a Spurs player, frankly. There was a 5% chance the Luton Town player was going to get that ball from the person he decided to pick out. Chavez powering past his number 15 counterpart in Eric Dier. Here's his Corona. Out to Giles. Wagner, sorry. So used to Giles being out there. We've had 6 points from 6 and we beat Manchester City away from home in the FA Cup. I think our goodwill has probably run out at this point in time for this episode. But we could genuinely have an FA Cup final for you by the end of this season, which is absolutely not what I was expecting. I thought we would get done by Fulham in the 3rd round. Samuel Lokonga finds Martial. Forward to Tekatito. Second half now going left to right. Basuma. Alaba. Honestly, if I can get Vitic on for Nakamba at any given point in this match, I will do, by the way. Because Nakamba has been utterly useless. For a man whose first name is Marvellous, it is somewhat ironic. Also, Wagner's not necessarily shown why he should be starting either. Vitic was enforced. Wagner was my choice. Martial. That's actually a really good ball to Doherty. That was less good from him. Like, he's not necessarily been a goal-scoring machine, Martial, and there's a couple of moments when he's just held onto the ball for way too long. But there are moments of brilliance for Martial, even if it's not necessarily goal-scoring brilliance. It's kind of the same situation as Jesus Corona, obviously 80 rated, as this is just carnage. Initially, I was about to say it's 2-0. Like, for instance, there, Ogbini, what are you doing? Like, Ogbini, you are heading that onto nobody. Like, you get the ball on Ogbini's head and there's genuinely no idea what you're going to do with it. If Richarlison scored there, I'd have been furious because he should not have been able to get that shot off. Alaba has messed up there. That's just come off Martial. And Martial can run out the defence. He's decided to cross it in for some reason. And Ogbini's header is so tame. Even I could have saved that. Richarlison. I'll make the substitutions now as this game gets under the way. By the time they come on, they probably, most of the ones that are on the borderline tiredness-wise, probably will be tired enough. Richarlison, Vaughn just caught ball watching, frankly. He's not one of the people that I'm placing. He's too fit to actually take off, frankly. Even if his performance has been unimpressive. Sessegnon's in. Smashed it at Kaminsky. This remains a tight 1-0. Ironically, I'd actually like that to go out for a corner because substitutions I'd like to make, frankly. Chavez gets in the way of that. Chavez has been our best player today, I think. He's just seemingly everywhere. And when he does get the ball, he does the right thing with it. Lockyer's still going, by the way. Lockyer is still... What are you doing, Lockyer? Tom? Am I going to have to get the tissues out for a nosebleed here? Because what are you doing? I took the camera off. I should have taken Lockyer. I mean, the ball hasn't gone off yet. Porro. Chavez. Just a reminder, I made the substitutions on the 66th minute now. It is 80 minutes on the clock, and still no sign of those substitutions coming on. Sambi Lokonga. Giannetti. Still Giannetti. Honestly, just smash it off the pitch, mate. I don't know what my centre-backs are doing. They've got a taste for dribbling, and I don't know why. Højbjerg plays in Basuma. Just take a long-range shot that misses, please, mate. Son, draw a corner, please. I want to make these substitutes. Richarlison. Goal kick I'll take, of course, as well. This is going to stay on, isn't it? Yep. We're generally going to play 34 minutes and not have the ball leave the pitch. Or longer because of injury time. I honestly believe it's because I actually drew attention to the fact I made substitutions that they're not actually going to come on now. Why have we passed that backwards in the 91st minute? What are you doing? I think that was about to give me a foul. Martial from distance. I'm a little bit surprised that advantage wasn't called back late on there. That could have been a free kick from the edge of the box, which could have been dangerous. But yeah, why is the team morale so poor? It doesn't make any sense. Turning Jenkins to a centre mid takes him from 53 rated to 60 rated. And has an 87 to 94 potential with 3 to 5 playstyles to begin with. Jenkins is looking rather good. Most of the other signings we've made have sort of potential-wise gone sub 90, but obviously you can't get them all right. I believe the players we've just added are Jonathan Cooper, and I think Arlo Greenwood. And Jonathan Cooper are the two players we've just added. Arlo Greenwood actually not looking that great, actually, looking at it now, but pretty certain everyone else is already here. But that's what the Youth Academy looks like right now. I don't know where the optimum time is to promote players these days, so I will have actually look at that before I do so. But Harris, 65 rated, might be well worth promoting sooner rather than later. The rest, I think, could really maybe do with a little bit longer, but players like Jenkins, the 17-year-olds in particular, likely to be promoted and then loaned out for next season. But the surprising conclusion of the Arsenal game in this particular episode sees both Hakimi and Acuna as fullbacks, and John Jules on the bench. Is he an Arsenal player to begin with, or has he been signed? He's not wearing an Arsenal kit. El Neni will start, though, as will Kyrgios and Timber. Gabriel, obviously, and Saliba, their primary centre-backs, rotated out. So it's the Emirates now in this glitzy world tour of, well, UK stadiums anyway. I don't know why I said world tour. The Etihad to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to the Emirates. 3 big stadiums in a row. You could debate whether or not Spurs are a big team, but their stadium is one of the best. And if you count Luton as the London area, the Etihad is the only time we've been out of London in this episode, despite playing 5 games. Obviously at home and then away at Selhurst Park and at Spurs and Arsenal. Depends on your criteria of where Luton lies in the world. Rice. Martinelli. Kyrgios. Martinelli. It's Liverpool that are running away with the title. I don't know where Arsenal are in the table, actually. They've got a reasonable amount of points, but they're not in the top 3 last time we saw them. I think they might be 4th. They do also have one of the best home records in the division. 11 wins, 1 draw, and just the 2 losses. So it would be a massive upset for us to make that 3. El Neni, of all people, with a shot there. Martinelli into Rice is going to be under it. Martial, though, to clear. Ogbini heads into Kyrgios. One day he'll find a teammate. Odegaard got a shot well saved by Kaminsky. I didn't think he was actually going to get the shot away. Our defender put a foot in. That's why I didn't really comment on it at the time. But they get to come again. Kabore. Should have mentioned Kabore in for Doherty. And they punish sloppy play. Arsenal are too good a team to give that kind of opportunity to. And they rightly kind of... Weird goal to celebrate with the manager, but it's Vitic with sloppy play there. Caught napping. That's one of the Gabriels to get things going. And just in case people are confused, by the way, from what I said earlier, Defender Gabriel is actually his first name. He just doesn't go by his surname. Like his surname is like Magalhaes or something like that. I don't know how you pronounce it. Which is probably why he doesn't go by it. But Odegaard, Kabore puts his foot in. Odegaard to take the corner. Odegaard is absolutely shattered already. He's about 50% fitness. We've only played half an hour. Saka's not looking much better. If they don't substitute Odegaard off, then I know the game's broken. Jesus has scored now. That's Gabriel number 2. Defender Gabriel's not even on the field, so can't make it 3 out of 3 just yet. In a weird way, including Arsenal in this episode was kind of helpful because it means this inevitable disappointment isn't actually in the start of the next one. Might be able to start the next episode on a high. Frankly, the way this episode's panned out so far, I don't really mind losing to Arsenal, emphatically. The way this is panning out, looking like, frankly. We're due a loss like this. Ogbini still scored more than Gabriel Jesus, and nearly makes it another one. Raya with a good save. Obviously, in-game, Raya is probably the rotation goalkeeper for Arsenal, because it will go off rating and rating alone. I think Raya is 80 rated and Ramsdale 84. At the start, anyway. Raya's due for a big upgrade next year, I imagine. Ogbini. Powers pass. Takatito is in support. Selfish from Ogbini. Kiro out to Hakimi. Right, Hakimi at Arsenal feels wrong as well. Rice. Takatito tackles Declan Rice. That's not how that encounter should normally go. Ambitious cross, frankly. Shinetti, though, to take that down. I don't know where he's going with it. Oh, he has actually done the defender. Attacker, weirdly. Chavez finds Corona. Martial's shot isn't fantastic. Does force a corner, though. It'll be the last action of the first half. If we can get one back, make it interesting. No. Still in play, though. It is Vitic on the ball. Chavez, who's the Timber, who doesn't fall over. That seems rude. At least play up to it, Urian. Odegaard wipes out one of our players there. Only gets a yellow card for his troubles. Is he injured? No. So El Neni off for Havertz as well, which are just on pure ratings alone is an improvement. Havertz having a really good season actually at Arsenal. I feel like it does go under the radar a little bit, but generally that does actually seem to be a move that has done positive good for his career. Odegaard plays off Martinelli. This is such simple football. It deserved a better finish. I don't know why I'm being told to substitute a player already. None of our players are as tired as theirs. I don't know why this is happening. Lockyer tackles twice and Arsenal remain in possession, and Havertz makes it 3. This is the kind of nonsense I don't like in the Ultimate Team, like playing manually. Is the number of times you put in a tackle and don't come away with the ball, it's ridiculous. I mean, the second one actually wasn't that good. But the first time, he actually does get the ball, but it remains loose enough for Saka to keep the possession. There's just too many moments where it just feels like the game is trying to make sure you don't get the possession. To be fair, Martial is actually knackered. Oh, and those substitutions happen immediately. I make them in the anticipation they take at least another 10 minutes to go through because Lokonga's not that tired, but he will come off. It is a credit to Sanchez that I think he has developed to a 77, and therefore it's not actually that much of a downgrade from Lokonga. I mean, in-game, Havertz has 1 goal in 10 matches. Scored twice against Chelsea, of course, I think. Like, we're not getting chances enough already. Don't be offside, for the love of God. Havertz. Cunha. Adebayo will find Chavez. That's Nakamba now. Adebayo. Takatito. Plays in Giles. Good ball through to Sanchez. Edge of the box. It's hit the post. Closest we've come. Oof. And Chavez nearly cussed that ball out. Unfortunately, it will be an Arsenal attack, and I fear this might be 4-0, frankly. But it will be Bournemouth at home that kicks off the next episode. A very winnable game, in theory. Or Nakamba with a good challenge. As poor as he was last game, that was a good challenge. I will credit him where credit is due. Ogbini. Touch isn't great. Kicks it against Kirill on the next one. Timber forward to Havertz. Back to Timber again, though. This time he lays it off to Cunha, who can power forward a bit. And a bit more. Stopped eventually. Rice takes over, though. And Odegaard will play in whom? Because this is going through to someone. Jesus edge of the box. Kaminski should save that and does. But once again, palms it out for a corner. They have just substituted off Kirill for Gabriel number 3. I think I know where this is going. Another corner, actually, is where it's going. But I get the sense this might end up with a Gabriel goal before the end of this game. Just to round it off. There he is. That shot's thwarted. It almost feels like the AI is trying for it. Giles on the wrong side is going to try and do Odegaard and fail miserably. Oh no, he's been tackled, actually. Odegaard's on the yellow. It wasn't enough for a challenge to warrant a yellow card. I'm not going to call for that. One day we'll be able to put the ball upfield and it will actually go to one of our players. Doherty with the easiest touch in the world to take the pass to Cunha and still kicks it straight towards him. And now Trossard could make it 4. Jesus. Havertz thwarted. Barkley. That one's hooked over and that will go to Adebayo eventually. 20 minutes later. Doherty with a bit of space to drive into. Gabriel will come to close him off and actually mugs him off by passing it early. Adebayo lays it off for Sanchez. Does have Doherty in support. Will use him. Doherty has Ogbini. It's going to be consolation at best here. Ogbini. Raya saves. Corner. Ogbini is at the near post, so it might go to him. It doesn't. It goes to Adebayo. Gabriel under it. Chavez beats the onrushing Timber, I think that might have been. Oh, Hakimi, I think it was. Giles, though, to deal with the second phase. That falls to Doherty, who tries to shoot another corner. We will take this, actually, despite being 2 minutes over the allotted time. But this will be the last action. A consolation goal at best. Thwarted. Burnley win. But that's that for today. 14th is where we stand in the table right now. We've played 30 games, Bournemouth behind 31, and Brentford ahead with 31 games played. Can't go ahead of Brentford, though, by winning that spare one. Everton with 29 games behind, but they can't go ahead with that spare one on us either. Chelsea with a game as well, but similar situation. They are in the bottom 3 again, Chelsea, with Brian, Sheffield United up to 13 points. They're not going to have the worst season in the Premier League ever. 13 points is their tally now. Still going to get relegated, though. Meanwhile, Salah has taken the lead in the Golden Boot race, ahead of Grealish with 19, weirdly, Watkins and Ogbini. Martinelli joined them on 19 today with the goal they scored against us. Owen Neve for Forest is 6th with 18, and Paquetá with 16. Another surprise up there, and Boomer with 16. Few surprises up there. Haaland with only 15. Almiron with 14 is still ridiculous. Danjuma has 9 goals in 17 for Everton. That's not a bad return rate. They should probably play him a little bit more. Same with Ferreira, Brighton and Hove. I think Ferreira is a January signing, actually. I don't know why I said Brighton and Hove, but that is their full one. Albini's 19 and 29 is even more impressive. I'll say it again. When you factor in his first, effectively, I think it was like 8 appearances were substitute appearances, and some of them were at right wing back. Salah, of course, presumably started every game. But that's it from this episode. A useful 6 points and a surprise victory in the FA Cup. Somewhat deflated with 2 losses at the end, but they were expected losses, so I'm glad to get them out of the way before we can focus on maybe a few more highs. Because a semi-final that we really shouldn't lose in the FA Cup to come next time out, along with 4 league fixtures, which will hopefully secure us Premier League-wise. If we can make the last episode just a build-up to an FA Cup final, that's the ideal outcome for the next episode, realistically. We'll get through April. We might have to promote a few players because if I remember in previous editions that April was the time to actually promote players from the Youth Academy. I'll see if that's still the case. It's been a long while since I've done a career mode. But yes, if you are enjoying this and you are sticking with this, I do appreciate the support through these trying times. But yes, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff that helps the algorithms and all that jazz. You know the deal. Thank you for joining me. Until next time. Ciao.